You are listening to CrossTalk, a safe place to discuss addiction, recovery, harm reduction, and everything in between. Support for this podcast comes from the Kentucky Opioid Response Effort and Advocates of Recovery. Content and production by the team at Turning Point Recovery Community Center. Now, buckle up and get ready for the show.
Welcome everyone to CrossTalk Recovery, the recovery podcast that supports all forms of recovery. I'm Matt Lewis, and I'm here with
Garrett Hunt,
Jake Finley,
David Stokes.
Welcome, guys. This is going to be fun. I had these guys on today because we talk about, we support all forms of recovery, and we've yet to do a podcast on faith-based recovery. And these guys all went through Lifeline, and I know them because we all go to church together, and we serve through a community outreach there called Matt 25. And so I've gotten to know them and watch them grow and their success stories in recovery. And, I went through Centerpoint, so my path was different, but we all are, in recovery, and we're all Christians, and we're all trying to work to better the community and better ourselves. So I just wanted to have these guys on, man, to talk about their experience going through Lifeline and, us working together in the community and outreach. So, Garrett, tell us a little bit about how you got there and where you are now.
So I went through about an 8-year drug addiction. And what really started is I lost my identity after I lost my baseball. And then I started just chasing all kinds of substances and things out there. Eventually that led me to 2 meth possession charges, because that's what you do, right? When you're in drug addiction, you get possession charges. So I got 2 of those, went to jail for about 2.5 months. And then after that, I went to Lifeline. I got saved there probably about 2 months after I was there. And then the Lord just gave me a fire and just like made me new after that. And so, I've been serving with Matt 25 and serving probably since January 2019. A big thing that recovery always talks about is like, you got to put into it. You got to go and serve. You got to give back. So I really took hold of that and wanted to give back. And I actually started first serving at Lifeline as a teacher, and then I went to River City Mission to start going with them out there with Matt 25. And so that's kind of how I got to where I'm at. Now I'm a youth pastor and married with kids, and so
Recently ordained,
yes sir.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's been a fun journey. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. What about you, Jake?
Amen. I started really young in addiction to drugs. Really young in school, middle school. Went on all through my 20s, into my early 30s. Done a few really long stints in jail. And the judge agreed to let me go to Lifeline, which was the first recovery center I've ever been to. And the last one, I did have to do it twice. We'll get into that later, but
Hey, it takes what it takes. Yeah.
But just a long life of drug addiction, and really at the end of the day, I was just trying to get out of jail, and it worked. So I ended up at Lifeline. I had like a really being into the Bible and prayer and all that good stuff a few years before Lifeline. So I had a good little foundation. So when I got there, it really caught fire. But that's how I got to Lifeline.
Yeah, and Jake and I are currently roommates. Well, he's moving out, almost moved out, which has been fun getting to know you that way. What about you, David?
So I had about a 20-year drug addiction, drugs and alcohol, any kind of sense of euphoria. Just suffered from trauma as a kid, and I just, always tried to numb my pain and everything. And so I was in and out of jail, for the past 20 years. Had a failed marriage. And then I ended up catching some charges. They ended me going to prison. I did 39 months in prison, got out, and I was wanting to do the right thing, be on the straight and narrow. But one thing, I was godless. I was raised an atheist. I didn't believe in God, didn't know the Lord. And then when I got some more charges and went back to jail and was going to have to face another 5 to 10, and I got the chance to go to Lifeline, and well, I'd cried out to the Lord in my cell months before I'd got that chance. When I started getting the Bible and started developing a relationship, I'd studied the Bible before because I was agnostic, I guess. I knew there was something, but I didn't know what. It never caught hold of me until then, when I was in my lowest and I started delving into it. And then I got that call to go to Lifeline. And so I went there, and immediately it was all that love was poured into me, and the word was just grabbing at my heart. And the more that I dove into it, the more things started opening up for me. And then I became saved there. And then I wanted to give back to recovery. So, like, after I finished Lifeline, I started working there, facilitating a class. And then I joined Mat 25 through our church, a community outreach program that we do to River City Mission and Lifeline. And just my heart is to try to help people in recovery, just be able to show God's light through me, and just help people out.
Yeah, amen. Was that also your first recovery center? Or
Well, no, I actually am the second participant of Lifeline. I went through it in 2012. But I did it for the wrong reasons. I did it for my ex-wife. She was going through recovery, and you do this or we're not going to be together, you know. So I did that, and it wasn't. I didn't have God in my life. I just faked it till I made it, you know. But I didn't make it. So
yeah. So you've been through Lifeline twice, and that's it.
Yeah.
And how many did you go through twice, Dave?
No, I went through. Lifeline was my first and last rehab. So
okay. Wow. Yeah, Centerpoint was my first and last as well. And, you know, I think what do you guys think was, well, I was going to ask, what do you guys think was different about Lifeline that made that work? But I guess it's just that you found God there and got saved. You know, I know that's what worked for me at Centerpoint. I know it's a different program, you know, AA based. And I don't know that I would have been as open, because when I got to Centerpoint, I had a big chip on my shoulder, and I was blaming God for everything. I was raised in church. My dad was a pastor, and you know, I had strayed from that. I tell people now that it was my 30 years in the madness was about a crisis of faith. Really, I lost faith. I didn't know what to believe. I didn't want to believe what was forced down my throat my whole childhood, and tried to go my own way. And then I blamed God for all the things that happened to me after that, you know. And so when I got to Centerpoint, I was not happy with God, and I wasn't open to that at that point. And it was through but being open to doing something different and wanting to live again, and never going to treatment before. I was like, well, I'm here. It was COVID. I was like, there's nothing else going on, right? So I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity and try to see if something here sticks. And it was through that process of working the steps and becoming open-minded, and that I reconnected with God. And then it was like, okay, I realize now that it was all my decisions and my actions and my lack of faith that had led down that path. It wasn't anything that God had done.
Did you have an aha moment when everything just kind of clicked back for you?
I had an aha moment in the program, on step 6, where it's like, okay, it's the spiritual principle behind step 6 is willingness. And I was like, okay, I had been willing for years to be sober, but I hadn't been willing to put forth any action into it.
Right.
And so when that clicked, it was like, I have to put forth action. And, you know, I'd started getting in the Word while I was in there, and we were in lockdown, so I didn't get to go to church, but I'd started doing a daily in the Word meditation and prayer. And when I was in Blues, which is when you first get there, you have to wear blue pants for a week before, and they come back and they speak to you every night, giving you experience, strength, and hope. And it was like the suggestion was given many times, just hit your knees and pray for 2 weeks and see what happens, right? And, you know, at first I was extremely resistant to that, and I was worried about what other people would think of me if I actually took that suggestion. But, you know, I was like, I have to be willing to try something, because if I'm gonna do this, I gotta come back to find a way back to God find something that works, because what I've been doing for the last 30 years had not been working. So I started hitting my knees and praying, and things started changing for the better, and I just kept staying in the Word and growing on that. And once I graduated, I started going to Faith Center and got baptized, and just have stayed connected and got involved. Like I work here, I stayed working in recovery, trying to give back and help people, because that's what the program of AA teaches me, but also that's based off the book of James from the Bible. So I just continue to learn and grow. It's a growing process. I got 3 years sober next week, and I enjoy serving through Mat 25. I think that was a big thing, because I knew that was the one thing that I was kind of lacking as a Christian, was the fellowship with other Christians. So getting involved in that, volunteering with that, and doing that not for pay, not for anything, but other than to form relationships with you guys and to try and help other people out of the kindness of my heart, because that's what I believe God wants us to do. A loving God wants us to love everyone. And so once I start doing that, it just keeps growing and it keeps getting better. So I'm not going to stop doing it.
We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, did you know it's illegal to own just one guinea pig in Switzerland because they get lonely? Here at Turning Point, we don't want you to ever be lonely either. That's why we are open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Always feel free to come hang with our friendly staff, and don't forget your guinea pig. We're located at 415 Broadway Street, downtown Paducah.
Did you know that recovery from substance use disorder and mental health go hand in hand? That is why the caring and compassionate mental health professionals at Four Rivers Behavioral Health in Paducah are here to help you find your balance. They are proud of you for making the changes necessary to live a healthier life and would love to see you reach your full potential. Give them a call at 270-442-7121 or stop by the downtown location at 425 Broadway in Paducah, Kentucky.
That's right. Yes. That's one thing I love about when I got to Lifeline. The thing I noticed the most about it was the community and the sense of brotherhood that everyone had there. Because you had to go through those phases and everything, 3 months in first phase, 3 months in second phase, 3 months in third phase, all that good stuff. And you built a real deep relationship with the guys there as well. And you wanted to see them do good. And then, I was in kind of the same boat as you, is like I've done something this way that my entire life, or the past 8 years of my life since I was 18, and I wanted to do something different. And if I was there, I might as well just do something different. And it was my second day at Lifeline out of jail that I felt something tug me to the chapel on top of the hill up there, and I had an experience that just set my heart on fire. And I got saved 2 months later, and then, it's like, man, I've been blind my whole life. And I want to do something different. Like the love and the community was the first thing to let me know that this is real, to open my mind, to open my heart to something bigger than myself. Cause I was agnostic as well. I was searching, I guess I would say I was like a searcher of truth, but I was searching around what's true, what's true, blah, blah. And then finally found truth, and it's changed my life forever, and, it's been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is life-changing. That was the same experience with me. It's that brotherhood. I came in there, my first time in going to a rehab, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be more like jail. I was used to jail. I wasn't used to guys coming up, hugging me, telling me they love me in jail.
Weirdo.
So, we talk about that all the time. That's what it was, a slow process for me, because the whole higher power thing. And, for me, it was at first, I was willing to say that the higher power was the brotherhood, seeing other people in there that were willing to change their life, to be able to laugh again for the first time in a long time.
That was
the thing
huge.
that a lot of people always talk about is that. And then it was the program that I saw people who was working in their lives. I saw people's lives change, the people who were peer mentoring, or the people who ran the place. Like Max Grantham was a huge inspiration to me. And then, slowly but surely, it changed into okay, you have to do this for yourself. And I was able to make amends to God and realize that, you know, it wasn't his fault and it was me and I needed to change some things. And through that process, you know, God became my higher power. But it took me a minute to get there. And, you know, I've seen guys come into that program, agnostic, Odinist, atheists, and completely change their lives in there, you know, and find God. You know, different things work for different people. And honestly, like, I'm there to try and keep them alive so they can figure out what works. That's what we do here at Turning Point. And it's about, you know, everybody has different pathways to recovery, and this is ours, and this is what works. And I know, like, that's what it was for me, was when, like, after I got to 6, I kind of, like, you know, scammed my way through those first steps. But when I got to 6 and that aha moment, I was like, I went back and, like, really thoroughly went through those. And step 3, being willing to completely turn your will and life over to God, like, that is something that I take seriously and have to do daily, because I'll start to take back the wheel, you know, think that I've actually done something. Like we were talking about earlier, I try to stay as humble as possible, because nothing I do is possible without God in my life, you know. And I have, you know, I should be dead, or I should be locked up in jail for my whole life. It's only by the grace of God I'm alive and out here. And that's why I always say, I said it on the last podcast, you know, I can use all that to help someone else, and then it's not for nothing, you know. So,
yeah, for the obedience that I've been given to the Lord, the blessings and the grace that comes with it, it's just like everything in my life has changed. Like, I didn't love myself, I didn't love other people, I didn't know how. Like, and then getting the love of the Lord and the brotherhood that you find at Lifeline, your brotherhood, your phases that you go through. Like, we had the largest graduating class in about 5 years, and you have 3 phases a year, 3 classes a year, and we had the largest graduating class. And the ones left that are still sober, like, I have a close relationship with them, but I can count them on these 2 hands. And we had like 24 that graduated, but those brotherhoods that we built, they should, as long as they and myself are obedient to God and are willing to do the work for recovery, I mean, those friendships and relationships are going to last forever. I've had some troubles with people that I went through the phase with. I had a roommate that he slipped off not long after we got out of the program, and it was really hard living with somebody that was, you know, not in sobriety. And it was very difficult for me. And then that friendship is totally deteriorated. We don't talk. You know, he moved out and doing his own thing, and we have nothing together now. But as I was saying, that being obedient and just saying yes to God for everything, doing the next right thing, just everything keeps opening up in my life. I keep getting these opportunities that just keep growing me as a person and allowing me to help others. And it's all because of him, and everything is owed to him. I just got to keep saying yes to him.
That's good.
yeah, very true. Yeah, we have to keep saying yes. I know that, like I said, like, turning my own life over to God is a daily process. And, you know, one of the things that I think I struggled with, and a lot of people struggled with, was, well, what is God's will? Because I don't always clearly hear what he's saying to me, you know, and he speaks to me in different ways, through the word, through other people, you know, and it's just being willing to keep, like, what I heard in treatment all the time. I don't know if you guys hear it out there. It's like, stay in position, trust the process. All those easy does it, all those things that you get sick and tired of hearing.
Little slips lead to big falls. We get it.
I read something the other day that I didn't hear in treatment, but I thought it was cool. Hit your knees before you fall on your knees before you fall on your face.
Ooh,
I was like,
that's
that was a good one.
That tattooed on me.
But it's that, just continuing to trust God, you know, when that's what you're doing, when you're turning your will and your life over to Him. Not everything's going to be us as alcoholics and addicts. We want everything immediately. We want it now. You know, you know, if we don't get it, we're going to go get it. That's how we always were. We'll go steal it. That's how I was. So, you know, it's having to learn patience, you know, and, you know, through that, finding peace and purpose. Like I said, I really enjoy what we do. We go out to River City Mission, and I thought that was a cool thing. David, you said you gave your lead out there, and some of your time in the madness, you were spent at River City Mission, and now you go out there and serve.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It is, and it's a. I'm not sure if humbling is the word that I'm looking for here, but yes, to be able to go back, you know, 20 years or 15 years later. My first son, who just turned 16, he was born while we lived there, so it's been 16 years.
Wow.
And but yeah, from living there and not being able to support myself, being in the madness, and then going back 16 years later, a completely new man, and being able to help people out there and just give my heart to them and just try to show them love and try to be a light for them. Like, look, hey, I was in your exact same position right here. And it just give yourself to God and put in the work, and, you know, you can pull yourself out of where you're at. Like, He'll pull you out of there. You don't pull yourself out. He'll pull you out of there.
And that's another thing we do through Mad 25 is we go out to Lifeline once a month, and we take dessert, and we play games as just a way for them to have some fun, a little break from their normal curriculum, I guess, it is out there. And I enjoyed being a part of that, you know. A lot of the guys I came through, or several of the guys I went through treatment with, work out there now. It's a blessing, man, to be a part of that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would like to go back to the thing y'all were talking about with just trusting God is, you know, I'm sober almost 5.5 years now, and, you know, you get so far separated from your old lifestyle. Like, I still remember and think about the times that I was in the madness, but now, like, on this side of things, 5.5 years separated from that, that's a lot of time to grow and everything, and to be away from that drug addiction. And so then I've moved into a new part of my life where it's like, I trust God that He's going to keep me on the right path to where I don't go back and do meth. But also it's like, now I'm trusting God on raising my children and being a good husband and being a good son to a mom that I like drove to a point of just jumping off the cliff essentially, you know, and that's a whole lot of stuff for me now when it comes to my testimony. Is like, God does all these things after He pulled me out that I have to learn to trust on Him daily. You know, when I look at the bank account and I'm like, okay, I know my calendar says we got multiple bills coming out within the next few days, like, it's gonna be tight, but I trust the Lord will provide for it. You know, I'm trusting the Lord that because my trucks went over 200,000 miles, that it's not gonna blow up anytime soon. You know, and it's cool how your trust like shifts from, I trust that I'm not gonna go back to where I went from that, or where I came from. I trust that God's gonna keep me on this path, but now I trust that God's gonna continue to grow me and help me live out that great commandment, just to love Him and love people. That's our purpose, you know. Yes. And so it's really cool. I remember a time in Lifeline, I was in second phase. I just started to work. I was working at ViWin Tech with a few other guys, and it was a Friday, about 75 degrees outside, bright blue sky, just got off work. It's got a nice breeze. Listen, like, seasons can take me back, okay? And days like that can take me back. And I just got paid. I have like $950 in my hand, and it's a bright, nice, beautiful day. I tell you what, that was one of the biggest struggles I ever faced in my sobriety when it comes to falling back, because I felt good. I was like, I can begin to trust myself in this process. You know what? Garrett's got a job now. He's got some people that'll give him a ride, you know, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. But then I had to come back to a point of like, well, remember where you just came from. Like, you're 5 months out of jail. You need to chill out, Garrett. You don't have it. And so I had to learn, like, hey, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to continue to do the things I got to do. by loving others and doing what's right in front of me, and he'll bring me through it. You know, he'll lead me through the valley of the shadow of death. You know, we got to go through it sometimes, but that was one of the biggest struggles I've ever faced, was getting a paycheck, a nice day, thinking I had it all together, all that good stuff.
We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. You want to know something? My biggest issue with meetings is, despite their name, they're never about me. Here at Turning Point, all of our meetings are for you and about you. We have meetings at least 3 times a day, 7 days a week. We are located at 415 Broadway, Paducah, Kentucky. Call 270-444-3621 for more information.
One thing I have always wondered is who put the alphabet in alphabetical order. At Turning Point, our goal is to help you put your life back in order. If you struggle or have struggled with substance use disorder and are in need of help, come see us at 415 Broadway Street, Paducah, Kentucky, or call 270-444-3621 and sign up for peer support services with one of our friendly staff who have lived experience with addiction. Hope to see you soon. Yeah, I mean, those little triggers are real. I had one not even too long ago. It wasn't like a real desire to use, but it was Memorial Day. I was working outside. We were working on getting this van together, our outreach van that we got down here. And it was
Nothing
Memorial
like
Day.
outreach to trigger you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was like working at Turning Point. I'm usually in the office behind a desk. You know, some days I'd rather just be out digging a ditch, like doing man work. But you know, we were out putting this van together, renovating the inside of it. It's Memorial Day, beautiful day, hot, sweaty. I get off work, same thing, sunny breeze. I'm like, man, a beer would be great right now. But you know, that's fleeting thoughts, and I know where that will take me all the way back to doing the one beer will never be enough, you know.
Right. I got plans for Christmas. Don't need a drink today.
Right. Exactly. So, but yeah, trusting God in that. Like I liken it to, I don't worry like I used to worry, and for a long time, the way I dealt with my worrying and anxiety was I drank or used through it and just numbed myself and didn't think about it or feel any of it, right? Yeah. And now I like look at it like I'm drunk in the spirit, because I still don't worry or think about too much. I trust and leave it to God and have faith in Him. Now I know it requires action. It requires me doing stuff. God's given me the tools to do, do things, to work, to provide for myself, and I have to continue to seek Him and be willing to grow, but I don't stress about things. And it's exactly like we were saying, staying humble and realize I'm not doing anything except what He's allowed me and made me able to do, right? And that's what I believe. So.
And anything outside of your calling is on your own strength, and then we know what happens on our own strength.
Yeah.
We fall down. Can't really get back up. Like, need a life alert.
You're absolutely right.
Talking about your calling, and you mentioned purpose earlier, and then coming out of addiction and just getting into being a Christian and, being a new brother in Christ, not knowing what your calling is, not knowing what your purpose, or you have an idea of what it's going to be, but then, like I said, all these opportunities are presented to me, and I know they're God opportunities, and then I'm like, are you sure this is what you want me to do, Lord? Okay, here I'm gonna do it, but this is not who I am, but that's that trust, and I just give myself to Him, and everything's gonna work out. And
I think that was one of the biggest things for me too, is like I didn't have an identity or purpose going into Lifeline or anything. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I was just, like you mentioned earlier, just trusting the process. Like, I've seen it work. They tell us the percentage, 63%, are sober a year after they graduate. And I was like, that's pretty good odds. If we're playing baseball, that's like double Hall of Fame, But Lifeline and my relationship with the Lord gave me a purpose again. It gave me an identity again, that I didn't have to worry about who I was going to be or like what I was going to do so that others thought I was something. It was just like, this is what God says about me. And I can now live a life that's like redeemed, restored, and loving others. And I think for me, it was just so big to have a sense of purpose and a sense of identity again, because I made mention that I lost my whole identity, so I didn't know who I was anymore. And Christ gave me that.
Yeah, I was the same way. I didn't know who I was when you use drugs and alcohol to deal with every situation, whether it be social or, that's every negative or positive thing that happened in your life, to the point where you had to use it all day, every day to just even function. You don't have an identity outside of that.
No.
No. And I didn't know what life was going to look like sober. I used that it was going to be boring as an excuse not to get sober for a long time, which, life sober has been anything but boring.
Yeah.
It's
a roller coaster.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, right, learning to love myself, who I am in Christ, who I am as a person, what my purpose is, still trying to figure out what that is, but just being humble and doing the next right thing and moving forward and, like I said, trusting Him.
Yeah. It's good.
Finding how to have fun sober, it was something that we all had to do. And because none of us ever had fun like without drugs or alcohol involved.
Thought it was fun for a little while.
Right. Yeah,
but,
it wasn't
this
fun.
Is great. Yeah.
But to actually experience what real fun is now, and enjoy God's beauty of the world. And I know we share similar interests with nature and the things that we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting out there and just being a part of His creation and just taking it in and enjoying, the natural fun that comes along with it, like the work that you put in and just being out there in the elements. And sober fun is the best fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember it. I know the first couple concerts sober, I was like, what do I do with my hands?
Like Ricky Bobby. Yeah.
Yeah, like used to supposed to have a beer here or something, right? And but I didn't get kicked out. I got to see the band I went to see. I remembered the whole thing.
Right.
And it's those things like, I'm lucky that I had a bunch of hobbies like art and music and stuff that I just abandoned throughout my addiction, but that now I was able to like find those and use those, spending time in nature, got into climbing, I bowl with fellowship with other brothers in recovery every week, things like that. But I think we had a conversation that one day at River City Mission, like, I don't know what, lots of guys come through treatment, like, I don't know what I like to do. All I ever did was get high. And I'm like, well, it's wide open. Try everything.
Try everything.
You're going to like something,
Yeah. I remember one of the first pass, you got a 4-hour pass. And so I went to the mall that day. And when I walked in, I was walking in with another guy at Lifeline. I was like, is this what you do sober for fun? Like, is this what we do? And I said those words and I started to like contemplate what I said later that night. And I was like, I don't know what I like to do. And 5.5 years later, I'm still discovering stuff that I like to do and trying new things, because I spent so long getting high and playing video games. And that's all I did. It's like, what does Garrett like to do? I don't know. I'm going to have to try everything. I have to go and do and be. And luckily, I love to read the Word, and God's called me to be a pastor. And so when someone's like, what do you like to do for fun, Garrett? I'm like, I read the Bible a lot, like every day for a couple hours. And they're like, okay, so what else? And I'm like, well, I have a toddler, so it kind of takes up a whole lot of time.
Keep you busy.
Yeah. But yeah, finding what you like to do and what makes you happy again is an important part of the process, that if you don't give attention to finding out what you like to do, then you might just go back to the same thing that you've always done,
But yeah, I think happiness is one thing, right? And having fun is one thing. Like we said earlier, there were moments of what we thought was happiness and fun early on, I'm sure, in our addiction. But now I have what I consider joy, which is I have fun serving.
Yes.
I have fun, praying in the morning. I have fun hanging out with you guys. I have fun going to Lifeline. I have fun working in recovery. I have fun trying to help people improve themselves and seeing the success stories. Like for me, that is fun. That's ultimate, the joy of living a life worth living today, as opposed to an almost completely wasted life.
Yeah.
And, sadly we see people's lives getting wasted all the time all around us, working in recovery. And, I just try to use that as fuel to keep doing what I'm doing, and pray that the people passing and things like that will encourage someone else to get their life together, or, to double down on what they're doing.
Yeah. That's been one of the hardest things for me on this side of recovery is I've seen more death than I ever did in addiction, and I don't know if it was because the fentanyl and everything wasn't running around as much or what it was, but I've seen more people OD and die, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention, and it is a fuel. You see these guys from Lifeline that passed away. My best friend, Cody Farley, he OD'd and died when he slipped and fell back into some addiction, and it's like this fuel, and it drives a hate towards addiction for me that now that I'm teaching the youth, I teach them with passion and show them examples of like, this is what happens when you do these things. And it's always funny when I tell a bunch of 14-year-olds I used to do meth, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, holy moly, I was like, it happens quicker than you think, kids. One day you're doing fine, the next day your buddy that you've known for years is like, hey man, you want to do this? And you've already been desensitized by getting high with a few things, and then before you know it, you're twisted all the way up, and there you go, So
yeah, I talk about that line that I had drawn for myself at a young age, and how I continued to just jump over that line every chance that was put in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where I was like, well, now I want to make sure that I haven't missed anything.
Yeah.
And like, that was the thinking.
Absolutely. I call myself a buffet user. Whatever I could do.
Got feel-good disease.
I think that's all of us here.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, man, I'm glad you guys came on. I hope that we continue to grow in our relationship as friends. I know that we're going to continue to try to help people, continue to trust God, and grow. Like I said, just getting to know you guys in this short time has been awesome for me, and seeing the growth. We all go to Bible study together, and we've been talking about identity and that. And it's all about continuing to learn and grow and help someone else. That's what my purpose is today, to give back. So I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing a little experience, strength, and hope, and about what God has done for you, and what you guys going through Lifeline was like. So
absolutely, thank you for
having us on.
Yeah. Check us out on YouTube, or listen to our audio versions on Apple, Google, Spotify, or Podbean. And as always, stay grateful.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction or in recovery and needs guidance, speak with Turning Point's team of peer support specialists by calling 270-444-3621. You are not alone, and we are proof that recovery is possible.
Jake?
Yeah.
Why'd you leave my tools in the driveway? No, you know what? It's funny that your phone went off earlier with your lightsaber thing, because that's one thing. We are all Star Wars fans, too.
Yes.
Bunch of nerds. Nerds for Christ.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.